Hi y'all, this is Lori Kraft with the Kraft team and Next Home Realty Center, and I am bringing you a Tuesday tip a little bit earlier tonight because I have to get back out and show houses. That's a good thing, y'all. That means houses are moving because we're back showing buyers, COVID or not, and I'm still wearing the mask, still, making sure my people are as protected as possible with my hand sanitizer, and if I can find them, Clorox wipes. So, what I want to share with you today is because we do have sort of a delayed selling season, we're seeing lots and lots of sellers go on market. And when you're going on market, there's some things that you'll want to do to make your house stand out. And we've all heard that saying, first impressions matter, and there's no second chance for a first impression, and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? There's nothing that could be more true, especially when it comes to home sales. In fact, there are studies out there that show that most home buyers make their decision within the first 5 minutes of seeing the home. And there are some studies that actually show it's faster than that. So you want to make sure that when people come up to your house, they're getting a really good first impression. So there's a couple of tips I've got, and a lot of these don't involve a big expense or cost expense. A lot of these are really inexpensive, and sometimes it's just a matter of elbow grease and a good cleaner. So when you're looking at your house, I want you to step back onto the sidewalk and come up from there, because that's the first impression that your buyer is going to see. So if your yard isn't trimmed up, if it's not cut, if your brushes are overgrown, or if there's no color there at all, then you're going to want to do some changes. So the first thing I would recommend, and it sounds kind of crazy, but it can be a little bit expensive, depending anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on what you've got, is trim your trees. You want to be able to actually see the house. I have one realtor friend of mine that is her pet peeve. She can't see the house, then she doesn't even want to show the house. So when you're looking at your overall landscape, look at that. Trim those trees back so you can see that beautiful facade as you walk up. The next thing I would really encourage you to do is look at your landscape and look at it not just from the eyes of a buyer, but also in comparison to your neighbors. So if your neighbor's landscape is all high-end and gorgeous, and they've got lots of different levels and rocks and maybe a water feature, and yours is pretty much brown dirt and it's already grown over to the tree and you've got weeds around your front door, then you might need to do a little bit of work there. So I would say that's worth the investment. Get a good landscaper to look at it. Now, if you're already pretty landscaped out and you just need to clean it up, add some color. Weird thing, but buyers really tend to gravitate toward a solid color versus a whole bunch of variegated colors. So pick a color and theme and stick with it. Red and white, blue and white. Those actually are very popular colors. Yellow flowers by the front door are big too. That, for whatever reason, draws the eye in. So look at that. If you look at your house and you're like, wow, I really have done nothing to my property in the 20 years that I've owned it, it's time to call a landscaper and get them in and really have them look at it. And I'm not going to lie to you, landscape on the cheap end is going to cost you $500 to $1,000. On the high end, it could cost you as much as $5,000 or $7,000, depending on how big your front yard is and what exactly you want to do. But that's money very, very well spent. So invest a little bit in I'm so excited people are on. That's so fun. You want to invest in that. It's worth it, and it's going to draw people into your home. And it really screams, I take good care of my property. So you want to do that. Color, again, in your beds. Make sure there's color around your front door. Some of us are like me. I don't have like this huge grand front porch. I've got a very small front porch, but it's a porch and I need to do something with it. So when you bring people into your home, you don't want what I've got on my front porch right now, which is 2 dead hyacinths. You don't want that. You want beautiful flowers. And I tell people, and they don't really believe me, and every time I swear it comes up in comments as a positive, put 2 big pots of yellow flowers. Personally, I'm not a fan of yellow. It's not my favorite color. But I tell you what, buyers gravitate toward. It says happiness. It says warmth. It's just a really good inviting color, and people like it on their front porch. And it's a really good offset to blue and white that I recommended on the front beds and red and white. So it's a very complementary color, and it's really great on the front porch. If you have one of those gorgeous front porches that with lots of room and space, create a tableau. Tell people what you're doing with your front porch. People like a story. So if you've got a couple of rocking chairs, put those out there. If you can set up a little seating area, do that. What you don't want is a lot of clutter. So think big pieces. Like I said, 1, 2 rocking chairs, maybe a table, maybe a big sign that says welcome. I'm a person of faith. I like lots of crosses, but I'm going to tell you, you don't want a whole wall of crosses as you walk in the door. You're going to turn off certain sellers, and you're going to eliminate some of your buying pool. So if you are a person of faith and you really want that cross up there, then by all means put one, but you don't need a whole wall of crosses. God's blessed your house anyway. So put one up there or put nothing up there, and I think you're still going to be good either way. But it is a really good first impression to have things clean. That's another thing that I think that sellers forget. And I had a listing that I'm fixing to put up here in probably a couple months. And when we walked up the front porch, I didn't think about it. And I walked back out. And I said, oh my goodness, y'all, look up. And they looked up. And that light fixture was really, really dirty. And I promise you buyers are going to look at that. And you don't want the first thing that buyers see is a really, really dirty light fixture. So my recommendation is if you can't replace it, because it was small too, just make sure it's really clean. The same thing for those lights that flank the front door or even your garage. Clean those puppies up. You don't have to replace them. I mean, in a perfect world, would I replace all of my light fixtures with hurricane lamps? Yes, I would. But it's not a perfect world, and most of us don't have a spare $5,000 sitting around to rerun gas lights. So clean them, make them pretty, make them sparkle, and that says a lot about how much you care about your home, and it's going to really invite those buyers in. So I would do that. Also, check around the front door. Make sure you don't have cobwebs. I went to a listing we've had on market for a while that's a vacant listing. It's $1 million home, folks. And sure enough, I hadn't been out there in a week, and there's cobwebs all connecting up that front door. So I had to get out my little Swiffer, and I just cleaned them all up. Spiders need a place to live too, folks, so they're going to make a home where they can. It's no shame on you. Just make sure it's cleaned up. When you go in that front door, one of the things I think that people neglect is the entry. And I know it's a tricky space. I've got a girlfriend that's actually a realtor, and she's owned her home for, I think, 10 years, and she just finally came to some good decisions about her front entry because she hadn't made any decisions about it, and she was frustrated with it. And so I get it. I get that it's a hard space to decorate, especially if it's narrow and you don't really know what to do there. Ask your realtor about it. Get a stager in to look at it. There's a way to live in a house, and there's a way to sell a house. And when you're selling your house, you want that little front entry to look really beautiful and welcoming and warm. And you also want it to fit the style of the house. So, I know Joanna Gaines is all the rage right now, but if your entire house is mid-century modern, don't have your front entry be farmhouse. It's just going to look odd. And the buyer may not note it, on the surface, but somewhere in the back of his head, it's going to feel like something doesn't match. So make it match the style of the home. Make it match what else you've got, but make it a little bit more updated. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's simple. And that's another one we get into trouble with. We get into trouble with yard decorations too. Everybody wants to put in their spinning wheels and their pretty, ladybugs and all that stuff, which is so great when you're living in the house, but you don't want to look like a flea market. So when you're doing your front entry, make sure that front entry is clean, make sure that it's neat, make sure that it's simple, and make sure that it reflects the personality of the house, which is hard because oftentimes when we buy things, we want it to reflect our personality. But let's face it, you want your house sold, so the buyer wants it to reflect them. It needs to be simple. It needs to be clean. I mentioned light fixtures. Light fixtures make a huge impression, folks. If you haven't changed out your light fixture since 1985, do it. Change it. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, go to the big box stores, because you can get light fixtures for not all that much money. And you're going to be able to replace them for $100 to $200, and those are the big ones. Make sure your front entry light says something. It needs to make a statement, and don't make it be a crazy statement. We had one house, it was kind of funny. It was a friend of mine, and when she bought her house, they had this light fixture over the kitchen table, the breakfast nook, and she referred to it as the space feature because it did. It looked like a spaceship landing. I don't know what they were thinking, and it was new. So they purposefully put this weird, funky light fixture in their breakfast nook. Now, fortunately, it was in the breakfast nook and not in the front entry. I had another listing that we put up right here in Coles Crossing. And when you walked in the door, to the left was the open dining space, which was gorgeous. And it's everything people wanted because it's that big open concept. It was huge. It was a selling feature for the house. The problem was they had never changed the original 1999 brass light fixture. And my seller was at the top of their rope and they could not afford any more things. So I personally went to Home Depot and I got a little drum shade and light fixture that was really nice. It was oversized. It made a statement, but it was very, very simple. And I got a friend of mine to install it all. I was out of pocket all of $100. Big deal. But it changed all of the showings. And it was crazy to me because I thought, one light fixture, that shouldn't make a difference. And yet it did. So look at your fixtures. And if you can change out those light fixtures, that's a really smart thing to do. The other thing to do is look at your light switches. Make sure all those switch plates are in good condition. If you've got a broken one or a cracked one, holy cow, you can go to Home Depot and get a set of 2 for $1.50. Just go get them. Just go do that. Replace them. It takes a screwdriver. You can do that. I feel pretty confident you can pull that off. Replace them all. Or if you don't really want to replace them and you feel very strongly about that, just give them a really good scrub. But I'm telling you what, if they're yellowed, it's just not worth it. Just throw them out. Go get new ones. It's not a big expense. Go do that. Simple, easy. The other little things you can do are things like Undermount Lights. Do you know that you can get some that you can just stick up on there? And they're, I think they're like battery operated. Simple, easy fix. You can even get them wired in and have a handyman do that. And it doesn't cost you a lot. So those little things make your basic home feel just a little bit more spectacular. And those are the kinds of first impressions that buyers see when they're coming in. They're like, oh, that has uplighting. Oh, that has undermount lighting for the cabinetry. That's pretty cool. Bigger, more expensive things that you might want to consider, but that actually will give you good return on your investment. And so help me, if somebody posts on here how I've touched my face 17 times during this podcast, I may have to yell and scream at people. Yes, I know, I touched my face entirely too much. I am not a good example of how to survive COVID. Sorry about that. But back to your pieces that you can do to fix up your house. So, front doors. Front doors mean a lot. And they are actually the one item that you can, hey Donna, thank you for the little compliment. That I appreciate it. Front doors will give you 100% return on investment. I think that's enough said. And they're not that expensive in the long run. Now, you can spend a lot of money. I'm sorry, all my papers are blowing away, so I'm shoving them in here. You can spend $5,000 on a wrought iron door. If you're selling your house, I don't know that I'd do that. But you might. It depends on the neighborhood. If you have a whole bunch of neighbors that have already upgraded to that and you don't, then you look dated. So you may not have an option on that. But most of us don't have that problem. Paint your door, but check with HOA because there's a lot of rules and regulations regarding your front door. So your HOA may not allow you to paint it bright red or pink. You may have to, check with them on that. At a minimum, get it restained. Make sure that it looks really, really good. I've walked up to houses when I'm showing homes that are covered in dirt and grime, and the hardware is all like worn off. And I know in COVID that we've had a lot of problems with people spraying Clorox on the door or Lysol, and it tarnishes it. I discovered something last night because I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got those hand rub bronze handles, and we have been spraying the heck out of those with Lysol and Clorox and stuff. And so yesterday when I went in, I was like, uh-oh, because it was like spotted white, and I thought, I've ruined my door. Great. Now I got to go buy all new handles. And then I just went, well, let me try one thing. So I went and I got stainless steel cleaner, and I just sprayed it on there and thought I'd just give it a shot. You see any white speckled spots all over them anymore? Fixed. So if you've had a problem as a buyer or a seller with that, then I would say go find you some stainless steel cleaner. Do that. But those are little things that you can do to make kind of a grand entrance and to add some value to your house. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Change out that hardware. Make sure that front door shines. Make sure your windows on your front door sparkle. Speaking of windows, that's another really, really important investment. I know another agent who actually will not list a home unless her sellers agree to clean their windows, because it's that important. They need to be scrubbed. And speaking of windows, and jury's out on this, it's a matter of an opinion. Personally, if you've got some solar screens, I get it. That costs you a lot of money, and it helped you a ton on your electric bills. And everybody will tell me, oh, but you know, Lori, the buyers are going to love that because they're going to know that they're going to save money on their electricity. No, they don't. Put those in the garage, have them for them, because you're going to need to show that you have those screens for the inspections. But you take those off, and they will let in so much natural light, and that is what your buyer's going to notice. They're not going to care about your solar screens. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go into a house and try to explain to a buyer, I know it looks really dark now, but if you take the solar screens off, then it's all going to be shiny and beautiful. They don't believe me. They're just like, because all they felt was dark and dingy dungeon. So don't do that. Just take them off, put them in the garage, have them for the inspector, have them for the buyer when they want to put them back on. And in the meantime, you should not be on market more than 60 days. So 2 months of maybe $20, $30 more on your electric bill, you'll be okay. I promise. You're going to be okay with that. So I would say take those off. So windows, really, really important, which also brings me to window treatments. If your window treatments are dated, and by dated I mean more than 10 years old, and they're covered in dust, take them down. And then you're going to say, but I don't have any window treatments in it. It's going to look really bad. Well, go get some cheaper ones at Target or Home Depot, or if you're really feeling good about yourself and your house, and maybe you have a high-end home, order them from Pottery Barn in the right length and put those up. If you already have shutters, just take down the drapes. The reason is because that dust is going to aggravate allergies for people, and it's really, really hard to get that dust out once it's in there. You can send them off to the dry cleaner and put them back in, but if you're living in your house, you're going to have dust mites just by virtue of the fact that you shed skin and you have animals. Holy cow, then you have tons of dust. That's just how it is. And I don't care how many times you beat those drapes, you're not Scarlett O'Hara, you ain't getting that dust out. So just get it down. And put up either nice ones that you can find somewhere for not that much, or leave them down. Let the windows speak for themselves, and if they've got blinds, all the better. So that's my thought on window treatments. Make sure everything is scrubbed. Like your mother-in-law is coming to your house scrubbed. And you know how in your windows, back here, you have those where the white hits the window, and you get all that dirt and grime there? Clean that crap out. That looks bad, and nobody likes that. And if you can scrub those, scrub them so that they are shiny and beautiful, because nobody wants to be looking at that plastic that looks like it's going to crack and break and it's all yellowed and dingy. I get it. Sometimes you can't do anything about that. Do the best you can, but clean it to the best of your ability. Fan blades. I'm going to tip this. I don't know if you can see that, but I got a big fan up there. And it collects grease on account of we grill all the time. And then the grease floats up there. And then I've got dogs, and then their hair sticks. And so I'm forever up on a ladder. Okay, that's a lie. My husband's up on a ladder. But he's cleaning that puppy. Why? Because it's gross. and then it sprays dust. Your fan blades inside your house will do exactly the same dadgum thing. So get up there, clean those off, scrub them to pieces. And you want to make sure that every time you have a showing, your house shows to the best of its ability. Make sure beds are made. Make sure bathrooms are cleaned and picked up. Nobody wants to walk into a house with dirty underwear showing up on the floor. And you think I'm kidding, but I am absolutely not. Clean that crap up so nobody has to walk in on that, because nobody wants to see that. So those are my tips about appealing to buyers. I am hoping everybody is ready to put their house on market, because I'm telling you what, I was talking 2 months ago about what we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID, and right now we're sitting in a big old seller's market. So if you've been thinking about selling your house, now's the time to get it listed, folks. This is Lori Kraft with the Kraft team and Next Home Realty Center, hoping you gained a little bit of information from my Tuesday tip tonight, and hoping when you're ready, you will craft your new beginning with us.